Morning, everybody. Morning. Kendall here with Conscious Coffee this Wednesday, and yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a late start. Went to do Conscious Coffee for probably the last 2 hours, um, which is pretty bad. Because normally I kick in right into it, but it was just one of those slow moving mornings, and there was a lot of interesting energy, which is kind of what brought on the conversation that I want to have this morning about catching your spiral. Because this morning I woke up, and as I was laying in bed, there was almost this negative spiraling energy. I could really feel like a pull down and the energy just in my house, you could say, almost like there was just this mood that was in the house. And I was just laying there, and I actually closed my eyes and said, I'm gonna try to fall back asleep for like 5 minutes and wake up again and see if this energy's still here. And I was trying to figure out, is that from me, or is that from, other people, or what is it? What is it? Maybe it's the moon. No. But the negative spiral, sometimes we just wake up and there is this charge around our day. And there's just these moods, these feelings. And it's almost as though we've woken up with just in a bad mood, right? We've just woken up in a bad mood. And there's really no reason for it. Or maybe there's some lingering reason for it, but we are not consciously aware of it yet. And that's normally what it is that there's these thoughts, these subconscious thoughts that come into, they become lucid as we start to wake up in the morning. They start to rise up. We start to have these thoughts. And then all of a sudden when we wake up, we're just in this off feeling. We're just in an off feeling. We don't know necessarily what is causing it, but maybe something happened the day before. Maybe something happened the night before. Maybe something's just been kind of riding on our system for the last week, month, what have you. And there's just these underlying surface thoughts there, which are causing the feeling. Well, so this morning I laid in bed, and I felt, as soon as I woke up, I was in a good mood, but there was just this weird feeling. And I'm like, I'm going to rest a little bit more. So I closed my eyes again, turned off my alarm, closed my eyes again, and decided that I was just going to pause before I went and got kids up. And I took the pause, and then I got up, and still this negative feeling was around me. And I was like, okay, there's something going on. So I was just paying attention that, if I made the conscious choice to step into that feeling in that moment, then that would just cause me kind of like a whirlwind. It would just bring me into it, and it would suck me down like a whirlpool. It would suck me down into this negative spiral like a whirlpool would. And what's that going to do? It's going to do absolutely nothing. It's not going to help me have the day that I want to have. So I made the conscious decision to, number one, become more aware as to what was going on, pay attention, shut my mouth, don't make any comments to anybody, don't, start rambling on about stuff, don't jump to conclusions, right? Because you don't know what's going on even inside yourself, let alone if other people are at play. So I just kind of paused on all things. So hit that pause button, pause. And this is how you have to catch the negative spiral, right? So you catch it by becoming aware of it, then pausing on it. Don't overreact to it. Now, inside your mind, you might be having all these different, you might be spiraling inside your mind. You might be going down this tunnel of just negativity, depression, fear, anxiety, all this different stuff. And it's just like boom, boom, boom. All this stuff is coming at you. But you have to realize in that moment that the more you become aware of what's going on in your head, all that crazy talk that's going on in your head, all the what ifs and coulds and shoulds and not happies and this and that's all just thoughts. It's just thoughts. So now you have to make a decision as to if you're going to buy those thoughts as your own and to own them for your reality for that moment, for the day, for the next week, however long it affects you, or if you're going to go, I don't really have to own that. I don't really have to own that. Yes, it's crap that's coming in. I see that there might be a potential here, but I don't know if it's true. And I do love that statement. Ask yourself, is that true? Is that true? Byron Katie, if you haven't ever read any of her material, Loving What Is, she has a beautiful process, and one of the best questions ever that she has brought to the surface of self-growth and healing is the question of, is that true? Because when we ask ourselves, is that true? Because we make these assumptions that that things that we are perceiving, that we are feeling, that we are thinking is the God's honest truth. When in fact, most of it's not the truth. There might be a hint of truth in there. It might be based on something. Typically, it is based on a fear, and those fears are based on things that we are what? Afraid will happen in the future. But here's the gig, right? Like I'm always telling you, the future never happens. The future is right here in this moment. You want a good future, make it a good moment right now, because this moment dictates what the next moment is, and the next moment, and the next moment, and next moment, which is why it's so fucking important to catch your spiral. And when you are spiraling down, it can impact the rest of your day. It could impact the rest of your life, one spiraling moment. So it's not just a little thing. Those little moments when you're in a bad frame, they can actually really severely impact your whole world. With that said, nobody on this planet can be high vibration all the time. We're not always going to be happy, nor should we. We need the complexity of life. We need to be able to experience what we perceive as good and what we perceive as bad. We need to have this consistent change up in our life so that we have more appreciation and more clarity about the things that we do want in our life. So you're not always going to be high vibing. It's perfectly fine to not high vibe. It's about the awareness that you bring in, the consciousness that you bring in to those low vibe moments. Do you choose to point your fingers outward and start to blame others? Or are you going, hey, is this true? Am I perhaps perceiving this wrong? Is this something that maybe it's an insecurity inside myself? Maybe I'm actually getting irritated because I'm seeing the reflection of the things that I'm not happy about myself showing up in other people, in other experiences, other events in my life. How is it that the things in your life are actually reflecting back to you about the things that you need to work on internally with yourself? The thoughts that you're thinking, the feelings that you're having, the actions that you're taking or not taking. Okay, because typically, I would say probably 99.99998% of everything that we experience, right down to the people that we draw into our life and the things that we love or dislike about them, comes back to something about ourselves. It's always a consistent reflection, a mirror reaction as to what is going on inside ourselves. So just think of it like that. Remember that that pause button is right there. It's really, really hard to pause. It is definitely the building of a muscle because we are reactive by nature. Our ego has us in a reactive state. It has us where we want to just go, all right, no, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. Why is this happening? Understand me. Hear me. No, no, no. So we are really quick to jump. And sometimes we don't vocalize it. Sometimes we don't actually take the physical actions towards it. But where are we being reactive at? We're being reactive up here. We're being reactive up here. And when we're reactive up here, then it's going to be reactive in our emotions because that thought, that negative charge, that spiral downward is going to cause a spiral downward in our emotions. And guess what? When we start spiraling down in our emotions, we don't feel good, do we? We do not feel good. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm so this. I'm so worried. I'm so fatigued. I'm so stressed. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so anxiety-ridden. I'm so, oh. It just goes straight into fucking victim mode. Straight into victim mode. And you know what that is? That's just a sign that you are out of alignment with who you really, truly are. You are not living according to who you are. Because the you that is brilliant, that is bright, that is fully aligned to God's path, to source, to your soul, that creation of you, that piece of you, which is a bigger piece of you than this physical being, okay, that bigness of you is telling you, hey, you are born to be happy. When you feel good, when you feel right, then you are in alignment, okay? Then you are in alignment. Oh my goodness, a bunch of people just jumped on. Hi, Addison. Hi, Steve. Hi, Jen. Luke. Jeremy. Goodness, Ram. Yeah. So when you are in alignment, you feel really, really good to in your body, in your emotions, and you know what? That's all triggering back to that you're thinking the right thoughts. And when you're sitting there and you feel all this negativity, just realize that all that shit that you're feeling, when you get into that, accept it as what it is. It is victim mode. If you're sitting there and you're feeling depressed, if you're low vibing, if you've got yourself in this spiral, realize that you got yourself in the spiral, okay? It is you. It is not anybody else. It is nobody else's actions, nobody else's, the way they treated you or anything. You are making a conscious decision to pull yourself down and to spiral down with that, and it's just taking ownership of that and then building that muscle on that pause button, because you're being reactive in your thinking and in your feeling, which can potentially, you can hit the pause button on the actions. That's the easiest thing to hit the pause button on. That's step number one. Learn how to pause on taking reactive actions, because you don't want to just throw yourself into this, like a disaster where you're throwing shit and screaming and yelling. So pause on the physical actions, pause on the vocalization of that. That's all taking action, right? So we hit the pause button there, but then you've got to pause on, hey, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good. So why am I not feeling good? Oh, I'm not feeling good because I'm thinking the shit over here. I'm actually just buried myself in a whole bunch of crappy thoughts. So as one of my old teachers used to say, man, that, my ex-husband was in financial services. So I have a lot of Art Williams education in me. And Art has this whole comment about stinking thinking. And that is literally what's going on. Like if you are stinking thinking, then you are in victim mode. And being in victim mode is going to make you feel like shit every single time. It certainly isn't going to ever bring you to any form of a solution or happiness or bliss or joy living that fuck yes life. But you've got to, first of all, become aware of that stinking thinking and aware of the stinking emotions that the thinking is causing, and just do not own them in that moment. You can own that you're low vibe. You can say, fuck, I'm low vibing today. I am just like, I'm out of alignment. That's okay. Own that. That's fine. Get right with where you're at. Okay, I'm really low vibing. I'm kind of twirling down here. I feel myself slipping, and that's okay. Okay, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some permission to not always be perfect, to not always be on top of your game, to not always be smiley, happy, hey, 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 right? Because that's not real. That's not real. Nobody has that. We all go through things. So get right with that. But then also own that the emotions that you're having are caused by thoughts that you're thinking that you have decided to attach to or believe into, and that you right there do not have to own those thoughts. Why is it so important? Why is it so important to even give a shit about your stinking thinking? Well, because it doesn't make you happy. That's why. And I'm pretty sure that everybody who's watching this, somewhere inside of you, you might want to be just a little bit happy, just a tad bit, maybe, possibly, yeah, maybe. You might actually want to have like an abundant life. You might want to actually enjoy love, enjoy, the good things in life, the connection, the joy, the community, family, lovers, all this different stuff. Well, how are you actually going to enjoy other people in your life if you're stinking thinking all the time? Who wants to be around a low down, depressed crybaby? Nobody wants to be around that. That's not even good. I know that when I feel that energy coming from somebody and they're not recognizing it as their shit, and I feel like it's coming at me for some reason, I retract. I go, oh, like I almost get cold, and my emotions go cold to them, because I'm like, you know what? That's just bullshit. Like, I feel you trying to blame me right now, and I refuse. You can try to blame me, but I'm not taking it. I'm not taking on the blame. That's your stinking thinking. That's your stinking emotions because of your stinking thinking, and it has nothing to do with me, because I'm just sitting here. I'm just being me over here, right? That's it. I'm me. You're you. Just because you got yourself caught in that spiral does not mean that I have to partake in it. But what do? Misery loves company. So we kind of bring ourselves into the group and we go, oh, I need somebody to feel bad for me, to have empathy, to feel compassion, to understand where I'm at, because this is so bad. This is so bad. Nobody understands me. We get into this pity party because we're residing in our pain body. And when we're in that pain body, when we're really stuck in that old wound and that fear of the wounds resurfacing, we are actually scratching them wide open and letting them bleed out, except we're getting blood all over everybody. We're making a humongous mess, and then we start to pull everybody down in our life. And then we wonder why people retract from us. It's because nobody wants to be around that kind of energy. So it's natural for us to want to retract, okay? Just like if you have kids and your kids fall down and they're screaming and they won't stop screaming, yet there's not even a mark on them, but they're like, oh, the world is falling apart, right? But there's nothing really there, and you're like, okay, I'll kiss it for you, dust it off, pat it, like that. And you what? You go, now go play, or here, sit here and take, like breathe for a second. But you have to kind of, they keep that tempo up of that crying, of that wah wah, of that the world is crashing when there's really nothing going on, then you don't really, it's like, you got to bring that down. Well, it's the same thing. They're a child. They have no control over their emotions, over what they're feeling, over the different things like that. They're in the learning process. As an adult, we can make a conscious decision to see reality for what it is, and to actually be able to make those conscious changes in our thoughts and in our feelings, and thus in our actions, and to be able to do that. And we really have to realize that effect that we have on the people around us, because when we are in that stinking thinking mode, and it creates those emotions, and we kind of bring ourselves in so that we can get company on that. So that whole concept there of trying to bring in other people to understand us, that right there is nothing more than our ego, and we are now having a ripple out effect of a negative impact to everybody else in our world. So when we ripple out our negative energy, that negative vibe out to everybody else, we're actually kind of bulldozing right over everybody else with our negative charge. And then if people choose to hang out in that, that's their own choice too, right? We all have a choice to either, some people love drama, some people love misery, so they just like deep dive into that shit. And then they go, oh, my life is so horrible too. Well, that's fine. If that's where you're at, cool, that's you do you, man, that's perfectly wonderful. Deep dive into that shit all you want, but don't expect to have any amount of joy or be in soul alignment and have the abundance that you want if you are deep diving into somebody else's well with them. Because if you are deep diving into that pool of negativity with them, then you are going to bask in the negative charge and all the awesome lack of rewards that it gets you. So just realize that, and it's actually, there is nothing wrong with being selfish in this spiral process. So if you are around somebody that is spiraling down, you can offer love, you can offer support, but if there comes a point where you have to kind of back away because now you feel that pull and it's pulling you down, and because you don't want to go too far down, you can go down a little bit, you can offer some support, you can go, hey, I'm here for you, I love you, I'm here. But if they keep pulling because they're sucking you dry, you're like, oh my gosh, like you're positive, I need some of your positive charge, I feel better when I'm around you. That's them saying, you're my food, I want to eat on you, I need some nurturing from you, I need you to really, because I'm not in alignment, and I don't know how to get back into alignment, so I'm going to draw on your alignment. I'm going to feed off of you. And you'll notice that when this happens, that you're going to feel extreme exhaustion, frustration, anxiety. You might get pissed off. You may all of a sudden develop a headache, stress in your muscles. Your stomach might start hurting. You might get bloated, gassy, tired, lack of clarity. I mean, I can go on and on and on with this, okay? And that is all that negative charge of being around people who are draining you. Those are energy vampires, and they will, if you are in a negative spiral and you have a lot of negative energy vampires around you, they will literally feed on your low vibe in that moment, because as you're spiraling down, you're also releasing a whole bunch of energy. Okay, so as you're releasing a whole bunch of energy because you're spiraling down, it's kind of like a feeding frenzy. So just imagine the whale in the ocean who all of a sudden one shark bites the whale, and then next thing you know, you have a swarm of sharks on the whale, and they're having a feeding frenzy on this whale, right? And that is because it's releasing all of its life force energy. Its blood is now just seeping out. Well, we do that energetically, emotionally with each other as well. So that is why that, suffering loves company, pain loves company, because it is that feeding frenzy, much like a group of sharks that is attacking a whale, and it's just feeding on us. So if you don't want to be part of it, if you're not vibing, if you're not one of those sharks, one of those energy vampires, if you're the whale, you got to get yourself the fuck out of there before the feeding frenzy happens. If a shark comes along and bites you, then you need to be able to transport yourself into something else, which means to pull back, catch yourself, realize that, hey, I am the one who opened that doorway. I am the one who went down this. And unlike the whale who can't just swim away, who's going to get attacked, right? We're not the whale. Thank heavens we're not that whale in that situation. We can make the conscious decision to actually change our thoughts in that moment and change our vibration and start healing ourselves instantaneously and start pushing away those sharks. But that means that we have to be conscious of what is going on in our head and in our heart, in our being fully, so that we can actually start to do that repair work, because we do have that power to prevent that feeding frenzy to happen. If you do get caught up in one of those spirals, if you live on those spirals, well then you probably need to figure out how to get into alignment, because this always comes back to alignment, 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 right? And that means to just, where are you not in integrity with yourself? Because alignment is all about being in integrity and really just speaking your truth and not giving a fuck about what anybody else thinks. And that is a really harsh place to be, because we're trained to believe that that is selfish, to not give a fuck. I mean, like, when I even say that, some of you might be going, ooh, like, no, I'm supposed to give a fuck. I need to care. Like, Kendal, we need to care. Like, we should care about each other. I'm not saying don't care about somebody else. What I am saying is that you need to stop giving a shit so much that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for the good of another who's really never going to put their energy out there and change. Okay, so it's one thing to sacrifice ourselves to a degree to help somebody move forward who's actually moving forward, but it is a completely different thing when we are trying to repair a boat that has no bottom in the middle of the ocean. Because if the boat has no bottom to it and it's going down, there is absolutely no way that our energy, our effort can hold that shit together for anybody. So why are you sacrificing yourself in that situation? Why are you handing over yourself and everything that you need, want, desire in pursuit to what? Offset a little bit of pain for somebody else potentially. Well, they are making a choice to live a painful life, to suffer. And like I said, that's each person's individual choice to either suffer or not to suffer, to make those choices. And you have a responsibility to self and to this world, in my opinion, to live the most in integrity that you possibly can. And just realize that integrity is about being in integrity with self, not necessarily with integrity with everybody else. You have to do, because everybody's going to perceive integrity a little bit different. And this is not about, I promise you that I'm going to do this, and then you break the promise. Well, number one, we all break promises all the time. It's like, should never make promises. But a lot of times we will say, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to show up. And I get this one all the time because I'm consistently tardy. But it's more about, I will be there at 1:00. Okay, you're going to be there at 1:00. If you show up at 1:15, somebody might say, well, you're out of integrity. You know what? You didn't show up at 1:00. You're out of integrity. That's not being out of integrity. There's lots of reasons that can happen. It's about, in those instances, integrity is more about communication and living what is right to you in the moment, and realizing that the commitments, the promises, the ideas, the agreements, the contracts, the whatever you want to put in there as far as like commitments between people, or between you and your schedule events, those things, when you book that out, when you make that statement that you're going to be doing that right here, right now, that if that is like a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that you change. Matter of fact, you change throughout the day, you change throughout the week, you change throughout the month, the year, and most certainly throughout every, couple years. So we're constantly evolving. So how can we hold ourselves accountable to an old program, an old version of ourselves in the here and the now? If we are forward moving, if we have goals, if we have things that we want to do, and we want to create this amazing lifestyle, then it means that we need to be increasing our vibration, right? Changing that frequency, which means that we're going to be changing. The way we think, the way we emotionalize, the things that we act on are all going to be completely different tomorrow than what they are today. So if we are moving forward for our highest and best good, which is also going to be for the highest and best good of everybody else in our life and for the world, then we have to stop giving such a fuck about everybody else, unfortunately, on the little things. And we have to realize that the true integrity is to be in integrity with self, which brings us back into self-alignment, self-awareness, and then communicate that right there. It's just communicate that right there. Be very, very real with that. So, and that will help you not spiral so much. Yeah, I kind of went off on a little spiral that other way, but you know what? It was important, I think. So I hear that I have a whole bunch of kids in my house that just walked in the door. So I'm going to jump off of here, go take care of my family that is out there now. And as always, stop existing, start living. You can follow me at www.kendalwilliams.com. I am offering 2 months worth of free coaching as an add-on to any one of my one-on-one programs right now. This deal only is good until Christmas Day. And guys, Christmas is right around the corner. So if you want to get almost $1,000 worth of free coaching from me, then I definitely suggest that you check that out, because this is, I think I'm a little mental on it, but I am offering that up, that I am giving away the free coaching. So make sure that you explore that. You can find that underneath 2 months of free coaching tab at www.kendalwilliams.com. You can explore that, just fill out the application, send it to me, or you can private message me, you can email me, you can text me, whatever form there that you have. I also have a couple courses that are going to be coming out that I want you definitely to be able to take advantage of, and I will be sharing those probably tomorrow or the next day here on Conscious Coffee, and also putting out a promo. So thank you Addison. She just posted the link to the 2 months worth of free coaching. And I love you guys, and I will catch you tomorrow morning for another Conscious Coffee. Bye, everybody.